morning, everyone. Well, today we're going to be talking about the very relevant topic of artificial intelligence, AI, and the global implications of this incredible technology. First, I want to introduce my dear friends, John Quinn, who is the scariest litigator in the world. Has an army of over 1,000 litigators, some of the best litigators in the world, and over 11 countries? 11 countries. Yeah, and just opened up in Saudi Arabia as well. Also, Dr. Alan Baratz, who is a brilliant computer scientist, helped create JavaSoft, and is the CEO of the quantum computing company D-Wave, which I was very lucky to take public last year. And D-Wave has the third largest portfolio of quantum computing IP after IBM. And quantum computing and AI is an interesting intermixture that we'll touch on as well. So first, let me just do a quick briefing for everybody in terms of what's happening right now. Just yesterday, Elon Musk, Steve Wozniak, just in time for our talk, released an open letter with 1,000 other entrepreneurs and CEOs of AI companies and other software companies and professors, basically asking for a 6-month moratorium on AI development because of the fear that they have in terms of the impact of AI in our world. If you think about that, Elon Musk asking for a 6-month moratorium on a technology that he helped start is a historic moment. And we are in the middle of a historic time where we are realizing that AI is going to transform almost every aspect of our lives, and that it could be incredibly positive impact, but also incredibly negative. So I text Sam Altman, my dear friend, who is the CEO of OpenAI, and I asked him what question would he want to ask our panelists. So we have one question from the founder and CEO of OpenAI, and I have one question from ChatGPT. So how many people have used ChatGPT so far? Look at that. So we've hit 100 million users in the first 90 days of ChatGPT. This is unlike anything in my 25-year career as a computer scientist and entrepreneur. I've never seen anything quite like this except for the beginning of the internet. And so with that, I'll kick it off with a question from ChatGPT that I asked, and I told ChatGPT the topic of today. And ChatGPT said, one of the key challenges in regulating AI is defining its scope. It encompasses a wide range of technologies from simple decision-making algorithms to complex machine learning models, and each of these technologies poses unique regulatory challenges. Therefore, any regulatory framework must sufficiently be flexible to accommodate these diverse technologies while still providing adequate protection against potential harm. So I'll kick off the question also Sam asked, which is appropriate for what ChatGPT just said, which is, what global regulatory framework would you recommend in terms of how we regulate AI? John?
I mean, I think we're a long ways from worrying about a point where we have to worry about global regulatory framework. We need to think about a framework in this country. Every country needs to think about how are we going to regulate AI. It's something that not enough people are talking about. AI is being deployed everywhere. It's being deployed in ways that affect people's lives. It's being deployed with respect to insurance applications for insurance, for applications for job, for medical applications. There are so many different applications it's being used for, and I think the answers for the regulation have to be very specific to each application. It doesn't make sense to talk about regulation of AI in general any more sense than it does to talk about regulation of software. It's got to be based on particular sectors, particular applications, and what are the risks that that application presents in that particular sector. Once we kind of get some agreement on that, obviously AI isn't going to recognize national boundaries. This is going to be an issue that all countries are going to have to deal with, like privacy and many other issues. And we're going to have coordinated ways of dealing with and coordinated responses to these questions, recognizing that in different countries, different values are going to be implicated. In our country, I don't think we're going to be comfortable with or AI engineers who tell us, why did the autonomous car go off the road? They shrug their shoulders. It's machine learning. We can't tell you. Or why didn't I get the job? Well, it's AI. We can't tell you. I think the Elizabeth Warrens of the world are going to have a real problem with that. And there's going to be an easy pitch to the populace that we don't want algorithms running our lives.
Hey, Shervin, if I could just jump in for a minute. So it's really interesting when you talk about the uses of the technology. Over the years, we've had the same concerns expressed over computing. I mean, a computer is going to become so powerful that they're going to become a threat. And now with quantum computing, we're going to a whole new level. And again, the questions come back. But it's always about the uses of the technology. So far, with respect to computing, we've been good about the use of the technology. We haven't come up with uses of technology that really negatively impact human lives. The thing that worries me about AI is that it's not just about solving hard problems. It's also about making decisions. And in my view, when we get to the point of making decisions, that should be human. That shouldn't be technology. Technology can make recommendations, but I'll tell you, I'm scared enough when I get in an Uber car because I don't know who the driver is. I don't want technology driving me. I love the idea, but I don't want technology driving me.
That's the problem with the challenge of regulating AI, because we all know the enormous benefits that it can mean for humanity. And we don't want to have regulation that's going to get in the way of those benefits. So what types of regulations do we want to have? And in some cases, the answer is going to be, I think, having a human in the loop. That it's not just going to be the answer, the output of the algorithm. You can think, for example, in sentencing of defendants or criminal defendants or parole decisions. The AI scientists can make a very good case that we'll use historical data and you'll get better answers than you would ever get from human beings. Are any of us comfortable with the idea that instead of judges, we're going to let an algorithm decide how long somebody goes to jail? I don't think so. But having a human in the loop at some point, a judge will ignore for the fact that judges have their own biases. But having a human in the loop, I think in some instances is going to be part of the solution.
So let's double click on bias and discrimination. As you said, humans are inherently have some form of bias, whether culturally and in their education, and in terms of that bias being transferred to others when a human is in the loop. However, humans are writing the code, and the bias is getting embedded within the code itself, within the algorithm. How do we regulate that?
I mean, it's not just that humans are writing the code. The data sets, the training data sets, are based on, guess what? Human experience.
Exactly.
So inherent in that are going to be biases. And so I think we're going to have to come up with regimes, and I think New York has done this. New York City has implemented some regulation for use of AI in determining, making decisions on job applications, that you must in some fashion validate your data set. It must be audited to show that it's not biased. Now, by the way, AI engineers will tell you that's not a trivial problem to do that. But it requires that, periodically you have audits of your data set, and there is some governance system in place. If nothing else, I think that'll give people greater confidence.
Yeah, I agree. It is the data sets more than the code, but here's an interesting twist. So one of the things that quantum computing is good at least our systems today, is solving a problem called feature selection. So that's simply looking at all the data that you're trying to learn on and finding a small subset of the characteristics in the data that are most representative of what you're trying to learn. Basically, kind of flattening the different points of view so that you're not overweighting one point of view versus another point of view. In some sense, that's removing bias, right? It's kind of making it difficult to introduce a lot of data associated with one point of view in an attempt to bias the model. Feature selection can allow us to eliminate that or at least reduce it.
So we have 2 minutes and 31 seconds. We're going to evolve to a crossfire, rapid fire answers. I'll go with you, Alan. You and I have talked about a time when quantum computing will reach the level of 1 million qubits, for example. We're at like 5,000 qubits today. I this is my own opinion, I believe at 1 million qubits, you're basically talking about the power of God. Problems that could be solved, would take us 1 billion years to solve can be solved in minutes and days. What happens when we're at that level of quantum computing and we mix that with GPT technologies 5 plus 6 and up?
Yeah. So first of all, I'll accept 1 million, but really, we probably need to be at 20 billion before we have enough compute power to solve really hard computational problems. So we still have a ways to go.
What happens though when the nexus happens, whenever that
when the nexus happens, obviously the AI becomes that much more powerful. And so it's back to how are you using it? So long as you're using it to solve problems and not make decisions, or provide guidance for making decisions but not make the decisions, I think it's fine.
Amazing. John, in terms of the legal profession, are you going to have a job in a couple years?
I stand up in front of judges and juries and plead the merits of my client's cause. I think I'm the last one who's going to be replaced. But look, obviously this has, we're, at our law firm, we're thinking about ChatGPT now. Yeah. It's amazing. If any of you who have experience with litigation, I'm sorry about it, but part of it is the discovery process and exchange of documents, huge databases. And what happens, the way that happens now, you negotiate over search terms. You agree, well, you'll search these terms across these many witnesses, custodians, you'll search these many, and whatever the results are, we'll produce to each other. That's going to be obsolete. Yeah. We've lived with that for 20 years. Now you can query the data set. The other side gives you access to the documents. You query it. And you asked, was the capacity of the plant exceeded? And what is the evidence of that? And it gives us an answer. It's amazing.
Thank you. I'm glad you're going to have a job because you're the best lawyer I have ever used. As a final word, I just want to say, if you have not used ChatGPT, please log in, create your own accounts. And the reason for that is you start training your own ChatGPT for the topics and the areas that you care about in your life. So you could have ChatGPT study all the books that you're reading for your classes. You could have it read research papers, look at Supreme Court decisions, and that knowledge keeps growing and growing. So it's basically like a second brain. That's the final word. Thank you so much.